just get going.
See where it takes you.
Yeah. Okay, Jerry, you're the student body president going into that year, right?
Long time ago, yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah. Now, how old were you?
16.
Okay, and you were a senior?
Yes, I had a birthday in December. So.
Okay. Okay. And you also played football as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and what did you play?
Played offensive line and middle linebacker.
Okay. And y'all had a good team.
Yeah, I had a great team.
9-2.
Yeah.
So, now what was Clinton like in those days?
Just a typical small town America. Population about 4,000.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew everybody, and everybody knew everybody else, and everybody liked one another more or less, and got along fine. In terms of the oncoming desegregation, there was a lot of interaction. Some of the stores were segregated, but most of them were open. The theater balcony was segregated, but there was a lot of interaction. I mean, the black and white kids played, touch football down in a high school football yard, and street basketball here and there, and went fishing together. So there was a lot of interaction there, and decent employment. So really, a small town America.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, the main street was a main north-south route.
Yeah.
Had a police force of 6.
6, yeah, on 4,000 residents.
Right. Well, some people thought that was a few too many because everything was relatively peaceful,
Yeah, yeah. Before I start, excuse me, I want to read a quote from the principal, D.J. Britton. He said about you. He said, "I don't know if it hadn't been for Jerry Shattuck and his leadership role with the student body, I don't know if Clinton would have ever survived in those days."
He was a great guy, but that's really a pretty gross overstatement. The entire student body was of the attitude, what's the big deal about this? We didn't feel that in a tight, close-knit community that there should be any particular problem desegregating. And of course, we had registration day, came and went, no problems. School was out for a week, teachers had in-service training. Casper shows up the Friday before the Monday that classes are to start and tries to get some people to carry pickets, goes up and down the streets, passing out hate literature. A little war story, he went into the drugstore and the tackle on our football team was in there, and he started going up and down the aisles. And this guy, 17, 18 years old, big guy for then, 220 was big back then. But he was big and tall, and he went up to Casper, and he looked down on him, says, "Mister, you just need to get your ass out of here, period." And he did.
Yeah.
And the Monday comes, and really there's about 4 to 6 picketers out there. That's it. And along with them, there's 50 to 100 media. I didn't count them all. But, all the Knoxville papers, the 2 Knoxville papers, the New York Times, the Washington Post, Los Angeles Times, the London Times even had a reporter there. Yeah. I'm told. NBC and CBS were there, and everybody was taking their pictures and trying to interview people, but they didn't have anybody to interview particularly. That afternoon, the Knoxville Sentinel came out. Remember back in the old days, the Journal was in the morning.
I remember the Journal, yeah.
And the Sentinel in the afternoon, the Sentinel came out and says, headline, "Clinton High integrated without fuss." And that was the absolute truth. But that night on the nightly news, coast to coast, black and white. We had TV back then, it was black and white. But the lead story was about this protest in Clinton, Tennessee. And we said, protest, what are they talking about? But as a result of that publicity, I think, the next morning we had about 15 people. And they stayed a little bit longer, and the press was much more active. And these numbers are almost literal.
Yeah.
Second morning, 15 people. Third morning, 50. Fourth morning, 500. And by Friday, it was a mob, a true mob.
Were they adults or students?
They were adults, and most of them weren't from Clinton. There's a dispute about this, but this town was inundated with cars from Mississippi and Alabama, and Georgia, Memphis. There were Clinton people in that mob too. Some of whom were just curiosity seekers, and some of whom were wanting to join a mob. But by that time, another racist arrived from Alabama, who I mentioned before, and he was probably a little more charismatic than Casper. But they had whipped up the crowd such a frenzy that they had a KKK rally out in the county somewhere, and they rant and raved and burned a cross or two. And their ranting was, the Supreme Court does not tell us the law of the land. The law of the land is the will of the people. The will of the people in Anderson County, Tennessee, is they don't want their kids going to school with niggers. Hey, hollering and burning another cross. They'd show up the next morning, and you walk to school, you get spit on, called names. That's for the white kids.
The white kids were spitting on the white kids were spitting on other white kids.
No, that's the mob spitting on the white kids.
Yeah.
The Clinton 12 were up here to school as a group. They walk down that hill. They go down that hill, and mobs on either side of the street, screaming and hollering and name calling and throwing things and spitting. I mean, they literally had to run a gauntlet, to get to education in their own hometown. And the irony of it was, the first morning, let's go back 3 days, that Monday morning, all they had known about that kind of mob violence toward blacks were things they'd read, about Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Florida, terrible, terrible. And they didn't know whether that was what they were facing or not. That first morning, they walked down the hill without incident, and each morning it got worse and worse. And Bobby Kane even remarked that when they got inside the school, they felt like it was almost a sanctuary. From that mob, they just run the gauntlet. Now, and that, I don't want to claim too much credit here that the white kids were that much friendly toward the black students. Everybody was sort of treating one another with what somebody characterized it as cautious respect. And that's probably a good characterization. But it just kept getting worse and worse each day. And we come to Friday, and this sounds crazy, and it is, but the rumor was that the mob was going to come down the football field at a Friday night football game at halftime and hold a rally, burn a cross. It was crazy, But the football team, we decided if that happened, we're going to have a scrimmage at halftime. Literally, I mean, and it wasn't that they were heroes for the civil rights movement, but you have this crisscross. Number one, everybody goes through this metamorphosis. Let's face it, we were all segregationists, either rabid or loud or just put up with it for generation after generation, and no big. That's just the way it was. But segregationists, well, that implies a lot of terms: bigot, racist, hypocrite, and none of us consider ourselves those things. But we almost had to plead guilty because we put up with Jim Crow for all those generations. So there's mixed feelings, and everybody's going through a process. But it's hard to, when you're that young, to develop a coherent progression of conclusions. But in the meantime, in a 1 week period of time, you're supposed to be thinking about that. And hopefully beforehand you'd thought about it. But, at that point in time, that by the end of that first week, we weren't thinking about integration and segregation and the morality plus and minus that's involved. Here's a bunch of yahoos trying to take over our town.
Yeah.
And this, I don't know what you want to call it, jungle spirit, anthropological impulses take over. This is our town.
Yeah.
These are our people. These are those people making us look like unbelievably bad to the rest of the nation.
Yeah.
And, we didn't think we were unbelievably bad. We thought we were small town America.
Casper, he was from, where was he from?
Well, he's a graduate of Columbia University, had a bookstore in Greenwich Village and a black girlfriend.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. And he came under the influence of Ezra Pound and became an extreme racist and president of that National Seaboard White Citizens Council in Washington, D.C. And I think this was his first real project to create chaos. And he almost did. But things were getting so out of hand through the week. Cars would come through from out of town. That mob would jump on them and try to turn them over or smash out the windows or what have you. Like I say, we had a 6-man police force. It was all they could do to try to keep the traffic moving. And by the end of the week, the local officials were so concerned that they formed this home guard of about 40 people. And we're talking mill workers, plant workers, some lawyers, my football coach. 40 of them to go out there and confront that mob, which by Saturday night was between 2,500 and 3,000. And they were milling in that mob, trying to keep everybody moving, as one of them said, quite unsuccessfully. But at one point on that Saturday night, I got ahead of myself here. That Friday night when they were going to come down the football field, that didn't happen.
No.
But thank heavens. But Saturday night, the Home Guard was trying to keep order up there, the main street. And of course, they knew that if that mob turned on them, it'd be bad. And at one point, they formed a phalanx. A line marched across the courthouse square and pushed all the mob back into the other side of the block. And the mob regrouped. They charged the Home Guard. The Home Guard threw tear gas at them. They ran back again, and they were regrouping, and you read what remarks they were making. Getting ready to charge the Home Guard again when suddenly and thankfully, Governor Clement, Tennessee State Governor at that time, sent in the Highway Patrol. About 60 cars came down across the bridge from Knoxville, circled the courthouse square, and the lead car pulled up in front of a drugstore. And the head of the Highway Patrol at that time was, I've forgotten his name now, but he was 6'8". You know, that's no big deal now. Every high school's got a center that's 6'8". But this 6'8" back in the 50s was.
Well, he was stocky too. He wasn't like a.
Oh no,
yeah. He was
Greg O'Rear.
Yeah.
Greg O'Rear was his name. He climbed out of that lead Highway Patrol car sort of in sections because he was so big, and threw that shotgun over his shoulder, looked down at that mob, and he said, "Boys, it's all over." And it was.
Yeah.
The next morning, the National Guard was here, and we ran a martial law for about a month and a half, 2 months.
Okay, yeah.
And obviously, everything calmed down then. Now I'm running on, and stop me if I'm getting too far ahead of where you want to be. But in that period of time, that first week that Casper was here, he got himself arrested by the federal marshals and taken in front of Judge Taylor, the federal judge in Knoxville who had heard that case from the very beginning back in 1950. And he was sentenced to a year in jail. He made bond and appealed it and was right back over here. And at the same time, the local authorities had filed some misdemeanor warrants against him for inciting a riot. So after about the second month of martial law, the local authorities made a bad mistake. They decided to bring Casper back in here to try him on those misdemeanor charges. In the meantime, while he was here, he had organized a local Anderson County White Citizens Council. There weren't very many people in it, less than 50 to 100 perhaps. And they were trying to cause trouble. They tried to boycott businesses they felt had been too tolerant of desegregation. They started organizing trouble inside the school. And I think that may be most what Principal Britton is discussing when you quoted him earlier.
Yeah.
But it was petty things like thumbs in seats, ink in the lockers. They threw somebody's books out in the rain. It was stepping on their heels in the hallway. This petty stuff. But that got in the papers. And of course, it's interesting, because that first week back in September, finally the story gets to be, here's these people, you know, imposing on these innocent white children and black children, But now inside the school, there's trouble. And that's when he helped us, the football team, to help out. And all we did was we made sure there were 3 or 4 of us at every hallway intersection to stop this nonsense, this little petty stuff.
Well, didn't he have a junior citizens?
Yeah, they called themselves a junior
white citizen. Yeah.
Yes, sir, they did.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But that hit the papers about the same time they brought Casper back in to try and on those misdemeanor charges. Well, he gets here and demands a jury. They took a week to try that misdemeanor case, and they had to adjourn and finish it a week later. And he was found by the jury to be not guilty. And under the proof, probably not, because you get freedom of speech tied in with inciting a riot, and it gets to be a seesaw. We're seeing it today in the news. But so here the headline comes out, Casper acquitted. Well, the mob reforms. Not as large this time, only about, 300 to 500. But all that trouble in the newspaper and Casper acquitted, the black parents become more and more concerned about the safety of their children. And that's when Reverend Paul Turner, the minister of the First Baptist Church, which, typical First Baptist, that's the biggest and the most prestigious church in town. But he escorts the black children down to the school along with the attorney. That's another story in and of itself, who had represented Anderson County throughout this ordeal. At any rate, kids, the Clinton 12 were delivered to their school, and Reverend Turner tries to walk back to his church, and part of this mob peels off and gets him cornered up around Main Street and just beat him up badly. Blood everywhere. You look in the exhibit room and see his blood on the back of a Plymouth automobile. But fortunately, he's not hurt, just bloody nose and cuts and bruises around his face. That same day, apparently emboldened by their attack on Reverend Turner, that mob tries to break into school. And they're intercepted by the home economics teacher, who happened to be the principal's wife. They throw her against the wall and keep coming. Side story, excuse me.
No, I
played football,
stories.
And those boys playing a band, just a bunch of sissies, right? You know who ran them out of there?
No.
The lead trumpet in the band. He came around a corner and he saw what was happening.
Yeah.
And he hollered at them and started running toward them. They all took off out the back door. But, we're talking about social media today. Well, a small town like Clinton back then, 4,000 people, the First Baptist minister gets beat up. People try to break into school. That spread in a hurry around town. That same day, we were having a municipal election. And this White Citizens Council had run somebody for mayor, a couple for city council. People turned out that afternoon like they never had before nor since. And overwhelmingly defeated, those White Citizens Council candidates. And I'm dragging on, but I want to finish the whole story if I can, highlight-wise. We finished the remainder of that school year without incident. Although at graduation, there was an incident where Bobby Kane apparently got ambushed with a sucker punch in a waiting room after the ceremony. But then we went through the next year with no problems. Started the third year of desegregation, no problems. And suddenly one Sunday morning, the high school was bombed. And, I could remember picking up a paper, and there on the front page, whole front page, half the page was picture of Clinton High School in rubble. And I could just see people nationwide. Those people down there, they had all that mob back in 56. Here we are in 58, and those yahoos, now they've blown up their own school. And oh God. But look what happened. Oak Ridge at that time was owned and administered by the Atomic Energy Commission. And after World War II, the population of Oak Ridge had downsized. So they had an abandoned elementary building in Oak Ridge. So the Atomic Energy Commission made that building available to the Anderson County school system. They've been abandoned for years, had to be cleaned, painted, furnished, equipped, everything. And people turned out from Clinton and Oak Ridge and all over the county with their pickup trucks and their tools and mops and paintbrushes and paint and just everything, and got that school ready for Clinton High School. Now, and on the appointed day, the Anderson County kids who live outside the city limits, they're all bused to Clinton High School. You can see on that picture back there, the Clinton kids are there waiting on them. And they all get on those buses and caravan to Oak Ridge. And of course, Clinton and Oak Ridge were always big rivals in football and basketball. We beat them about once every decade. At any rate, they get down there. There's the Oak Ridge High School band, 8 o'clock in the morning, full uniform and formation. And they play the Clinton High School alma mater. As the Clinton kids, black and white, get off their buses and go into their new school. All right, a lot of talk there. But the bombing was Sunday morning. You know when those kids were back in school?
No.
Thursday.
Wow.
3 days. 4 days if you stretch it. I mean, it's an amazing logistical accomplishment when you think about it. And why do I bring it up? Well, I bring it up because I'm prejudiced about Clinton, obviously. That's my hometown.
Yeah.
And you bring up the mob violence. But look what happened in response. They formed a home guard. I mean, can you imagine a more heroic example of citizenship?
No.
That 40 of you go out there and confront this mob that's been ugly for a week, and then your high school gets bombed. I mean, it's so bad, but yet we got school open again in 4 days, and those are sort of minor things. As one way as you look back on it, but there's a lesson. Bad things happen, and in that case, mob in '56, high school blowing up in '58. The real issue is, what do you do in response when those bad things happen? And I think Clinton's response was pretty admirable all the way through.
Who paid for the school to be redone?
The local authorities. We had there's a national commentator that organized a Bucks for Bricks drive that raised a couple $100,000 or so. And of course, the local authorities raised the rest with the bond issue.
That's good. And Clinton had just been redone before it was bombed, wasn't it?
No, it hadn't. We just built a new gymnasium.
Okay.
That was the only thing that had been redone.
Okay. And Billy Graham, didn't he have a crusade in that?
Good point.
Yeah.
I think it was that same Christmas after the bombing that he came here and held I think it was a 5-day crusade in the high school gymnasium.
Yeah. Can you go more in detail? You and I talked earlier about the home guard and that night, the Saturday night, when the mob's coming in, and how close it was to being a total disaster and death.
Yeah, well, I doubt seriously that the home guard would have fired on those people. But it doesn't matter. The home guard, they knew that if that mob came after them, there wasn't a thing in the world they could do to stop it. They might fire over their heads. They might even fire at them. I doubt it. But they'd be overcome. I mean, let's see. In fact, there weren't 40. There were 36 because 4 people had been dispatched out to the mayor's office.
Yeah, well, they could have been. I mean, they would have been hurt.
Yes. But it was very close, very close.
And how much time was there between when the National Guard came in and they had fired the tear gas?
Well, the tear gas, I forgot the time over there. It was on that.
Yeah, it was less than 10 minutes, wasn't it?
Yes, it was less than 10 minutes between the tear gas and the highway patrol. And then, of course, the National Guard was here.
The
National Guard was here the next morning, Sunday morning.
So so there was like they were getting ready to rush the courthouse again when the highway patrol came up.
Exactly.
And the home guard, one of the guys, Harold McDowell.
Yes, McAuliffe. Yes.
Yeah. He said, "I tell you what, I've flown 26 missions out of the Mediterranean, and I tell you what, I've never been more frightened than that night in Clinton."
Yep. Yeah.
You know, a World War II bomber, and
Exactly.
you know, it was.
I mean, imagine that. It was a courageous act.
It was, and they would, some of them would have probably been killed
Yeah,
or
it's
beat up badly.
yeah, badly. No, it's an amazing story. Now, in the meantime, the black population, and this hill, commonly known as Foley Hill,
Mhm.
is the largest concentration of black citizens in Glen. But those folks have two major entrances to this hill,
Mhm.
and they had it well guarded,
Mhm.
and they were prepared to defend themselves if that mob,
Was
gave up downtown and started up this hill.
yeah,
There would have been trouble there too, and that's
yeah.
uh, very courageous. I don't know if you noticed during that first week of mob violence, and the rumors that were flying were just horrendous.
Mhm.
And the black parents were putting their children in the church basement to spend the night.
Yes, yes. We
And then,
passed that church, Mount Sinai.
right, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and had a black minister.
yes, oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's and the black men. I guess they guarded up here the homes and
Well, they
things.
had the homes, the railroad crossings in both parishes,
Mhm.
another entrance about a half mile to the north. They had them blocked, and they had lines set up elsewhere also.
Mhm.
I mean, they were ready.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. They would have probably been overpowered too with that many protesters, but yeah, they were ready.
it could have been,
It could have been.
an awful, awful situation.
Yes. Let's go back kind of um, in the beginning. What would well you were captain, you were on the football team, and how did the football team accept the black people? Could they have played on the team?
That year, they could not have played, and it was probably the Anderson County School Board decision.
Hmm.
But it was not just clean. You see, when they go to play away,
Yeah,
you see, you get that whole turmoil started on the away games,
yeah,
and that's probably the main reason. The
yeah.
way the football team felt was, at the beginning of the school year, people were running around, students wondering if the school was going to be closed and they were not going to be able to graduate.
Hmm.
And we were running around, we were going to cancel the football season.
Hmm.
And, we resented all that. And the people of Clinton resented their community being made a mockery.
Hmm.
Uh, it's funny. You talk about things that values. You got the legal,
Hmm.
and that decision was final and absolute. You got the moral,
Hmm.
and everybody's got to think a little bit there. But to start with, the idea was, and it was promoted in the papers and in the churches and in the school. We're good, decent, law-abiding people,
Hmm.
and we're going to abide by the law of the land.
Hmm.
Well, there's a rich irony there
Hmm.
because we were good, decent people who abided by the law of the land back when the law of the land was segregation, right?
Yes, yeah.
So suddenly we got to rethink our situation. Uh, and then you got for want of a better term, I'll call it the anthropomorphic. Is that your word? Anthropology,
I'm not sure. I know what
the
you're saying. I
jungle.
can't say it.
The legal and the moral
Hmm.
sometimes conflict,
Hmm.
and very often it's with the jungle instinct.
Yes, yeah.
But in that situation, we had all three of those forces
Hmm.
in unison. That's rare,
Hmm.
very rare.
Yeah.
But no, the student body and the town itself felt very upset over
Hmm.
what was happening to their good little old town.
Yes.
And, the idea of accepting blame for it because we ourselves had, tolerated segregation for all those generations, and that lends on to a whole new
Hmm.
set of issues and discussion. But, when you say segregationists, you think racism and
Hmm.
uh, what's the other word? Bigotry.
Bigotry. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Did you?
Confusion. It's all there. You got to anyway.
Yeah, it's
And we didn't consider ourselves racists or bigots. But yet, if somebody said, "Well, you're a segregationist,"
yeah.
there's a
But you're
cubbyhole that
you're
contains all those
16.
definitions.
Yeah, you're 16, 17, and 18-year-old, like you said, and you don't think about stuff like that. You get that back then.
Well, we all of us had to.
Yeah, you're forced to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did
Including the adults.
yeah, you probably grew up a lot that one year. That you were forced to grow up quickly.
Like I grew up that one day when the lead trumpet in the band ran him out of there. And that fellow, by the way, he started getting anonymous calls at home threatening his home and his family. And his mother and father sent him to Florida to finish that school year with an uncle because it was so nonstop.
Were you ever threatened?
No, not really. Spat at, but that was about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'd say the football team would probably have your back.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
At one point, some of the 3 football members went in, and the mob had followed a group of blacks to a drive-in or somewhere where they were trying to eat lunch or somewhere. I can't remember, but the mob was after them, and they went and got them. Not fair,
Yeah.
10 or 20 people after 3 or 4 black students. That's crazy.
No, it's not. Did you have any classes with any of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who did you have a class with?
Bobby Kane. He was the only senior in the group. And I don't, I might have had a class with Joanne Allen. I'm not sure. Can't remember.
Yeah. What was he like?
Bobby was very mature, very athletic, smart. He didn't have any difficulty academically going from Austin High School in Knoxville to Clinton, which was supposed to be more rigorous academically, and I'm not that sure it was. But that was interesting. Again, it went way back. But McSwain versus Anderson County was filed a year before Brown versus Board was filed.
Okay.
And when they finally had the hearing, separate but equal was still the law. And the judge had to decide the case on that basis. And the proof was that Austin High School, the segregated high school in Knoxville, to which those children were bused, was equal to, arguably superior to Clinton High School, better physical facility and broader academic and vocational curriculum. So the judge held the standard, the separate but equal standard had been met. And that case was on appeal, and it was hung up in the Cincinnati Circuit Court of Appeals when the Supreme Court decided Brown versus Board and all the companion cases. And then, of course, the case was sent back to the federal judge. And of course, the lawyer who represented Anderson County Schools was the same lawyer there as he had been before.
Yeah.
And they used to tease him about it being on both sides of that question. He said, "Well, no, really." He said, "I was just right both times, legally, And, he's being facetious. But he was one of them that walked the black students down the hill with Reverend Turner.
So how did your parents feel about it?
My parents were native New Yorkers.
Okay.
They had moved down here in 1940, 41. So they considered themselves Tennesseans, but nevertheless, their background had been in the North. So they weren't champions of desegregation one way or the other.
Yeah. What about most of the teachers that you had? How did they feel?
They felt very much so that this was the fair and the correct thing to do. As a matter of fact, I think you may have seen it in some of the videos you've watched. Some of the black students commented on how the teachers were good to them and
really good,
worked with them and so forth. And I was just reading an excerpt. Bobby Kane was quoted similarly.
Yeah, and we ought to just say that he died eight days ago.
Yes.
He died on September 22nd. Yeah. What about your friends? How did the non-football friends, how did they feel about
the whole student body? Felt this is not that big a deal at all. And I don't know any. Well, there are a few of those junior white citizens council members who
Yeah.
joined it at the behest of their parents in some cases because they told teachers that. But other than those, the whole student body, and I'm talking 95% plus, was, this is no big deal. We can handle this.
Yeah.
That mob that was outside, and that was back in the days before air conditioning.
Oh, yeah.
The windows were up. You could hear them out there chanting and screaming and going on with all their nonsense. And the student body resented it.
Yeah, yeah. So really, the adults kind of they made it worse. The outsiders and the parents. And
well, and don't get me wrong, the majority of the adults felt similarly
to you all, or
to the way we as a student body felt.
Yeah, yeah.
Because really, if the parents had all felt otherwise, then a lot of that reflected in the students' attitudes.
Yeah.
But both the students and the adults as a group were overwhelmingly of a mind that, this is no big deal. We're going to make it work. We're embarrassed by this mob on our street and newspapers all over the nation, besmirching this nice little town that we live in and love. And
how did that affect your future emotionally? How do you think it shaped you as a person after that?
I don't think it shaped that much. It's funny. From time to time, I've been interviewed by people who were writing a thesis on the subject. And one lady interviewed me, and she says, "I don't know, how in the world did you all cope?" I said, "Cope? Back in the 50s, there was no such word. You took life as it went, and you tried to do the right thing." And that's, again, not just me. I think that's the way most of those kids felt. So this is something that came along, and we did the right thing. So let's forget it, go on with our lives.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the attitude to have.
Well, and I don't mean to be critical. I guess there is a backhanded slap involved in that. But cope.
Yeah.
You just take it and make the best of it.
So after high school, what did you do? Where did you go to college?
Yes, sir. I went to college and then served 4 years in the Marine Corps as an officer, my dad.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And then went to law school.
Yeah. Okay. Where did you go to law school?
The University of Tennessee.
Okay. Good. So. Okay.
GI Bill.
Yeah.
Couldn't have afforded it.
No. Well, is there anything you want to say in closing?
Well, not particularly. It's a great story, and I know I tell it from a biased perspective, but everything I've told you here has been the truth.
Yes.
So if there's bias there, there's bias there. But what I've said is true, and I don't know what questions I may have left lingering.
No, I had a list of questions, and you kind of answered them without me even asking them. So you can't see through this paper, can you?
No, sir.
You got it.
I didn't know what you were going to ambush me with.
So, okay. Well, Jerry, we appreciate it.
Glad
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.